The wall is cold under my palms, and the cold is the first true thing. Not the crane. The crane is gone. Its shadow, the shriek of the buckling boom, the small weight of Edda's shoulder I shoved clear before the world went white. These hands are not mine. Scarred across the knuckles, broad in the thumb, a mason's grip pressed flat to dressed granite. Behind my eyes the stone lights up, red. A grid of thin lines crawling the curtain wall, like frost finding the weak seams of glass. Every fracture I read in 40 years of bringing buildings down, only this one wants to stand. The ground shrugs, dust sifts from the merlons, men shout in a tongue I should not know and do. Pass throat, breach, and a thick-shouldered man in a mail coat grips my arm. My lord, you went down. The omen. I don't answer. I'm following the red. It runs from the foot of the third buttress, up and left, and hooks under the parapet where the old patch sits proud of the face. Bad load climbs toward the weakest joint, always. Shore the south buttress, the man calls over his shoulder. Castellan. The word arrives with the body. Timber and rubble. Fill the base. Brace her before she goes. No. Flat. He turns. The other faces behind him turn too. I feel them more than see them. My people now, strangers since dawn. My lord? Brace that base and you'll pull the whole face into the gorge. I press harder, and the grid brightens where I push. The crack isn't in the buttress. The buttress is holding. The failure's overhead. That patch on the parapet. Heavy at the crown, hollow beneath. That patch has held 30 years. It's holding nothing. It's a tumor. I lift my hands away, and the red stays, burned in. Pile rubble at the foot now, and you add weight to a wall already failing from the top down. She'll hinge. There. I point. A hairline I should not be able to see from here runs exactly where my finger lands. The tremor stops. Tick of settling grit. The Castellan looks at the seam, then at me, and his jaw shifts. Not trust. Arithmetic. The seers read the breach at 12 days, Lord, not the wall. We mend by the old marks. The seers don't carry the load. The stone does. I'm already moving along the walk, palm trailing the parapet, reading. No quarry behind us. The body knows it before I do. Every block here is the last of its kind. I won't spend one I don't have to. Get the patch off. Lever it, don't hammer it. Relieve the crown, and the buttress saves itself for free. And if you're wrong, I stop at the hinge point. Below, the gorge drops gray and bottomless, and the wind off it carries cold iron and old snow. Edda is gone. I couldn't hold the crane. I can hold this. I turn back and put the dead man's voice into my own mouth. Then we die a day early. Bring the levers. You're white as fresh lime, brother. Sit, before the wall takes you twice. She comes up the stair fast, sure on the worn treads, and she wears the body's face, the same broad brow, the same stubborn jaw, only softened. Mira. The name arrives with her grip on my sleeve. A boy trails her, 10 or so, dark-eyed, hanging back by the merlon and watching my scarred hands, the way I'd watch a lintel already split. Tam. The yard below has found its voice. A man in a gray hood stands on the lip of the well and shouts 3 words until they wear smooth. 12 days. The breach. 12 days. Doors stay open. Nobody argues him down. I don't need to sit. My throat still makes the words feel borrowed. Mira's thumb is already on my wrist, pressing the pulse, counting without leave. You dropped on the walk in front of everyone. Now you're calling the parapet a tumor and sending old men up with crowbars? Her eyes don't leave mine. Tell me what's broken in you, and I'll mend that first. Nothing's broken. The wall is. Listen. I turn her by the shoulder to face the gorge, the cold coming off it in a steady draw. How many mouths do I feed off this rock? A lord shouldn't have to ask. She hears that, and her hand tightens. 47, Tam says from the merlon. First words out of him. Flat, exact, a boy who's done the sum before. 46 and the Harlan baby. I set the figure down where it belongs, not as souls yet, as load. Every body a weight the walls must carry through 12 days. And the quarry. I'm already pacing the parapet, palm on stone, the red seams waking under my hand. Where do we cut fresh block when this face spends itself? Tam makes a sound that isn't a laugh. There's no quarry, Lord. I stop. The throat is all there is, Mira says quietly. What the first wardens hauled up, we keep. The nearest cut stone is 4 days down the pass. She lets that sit a breath too long. The pass, the omen says, fills with demons in 12. I put my hand flat to the granite and feel the whole grim arithmetic settle through it. No resupply. Nothing waiting behind the line. Every block in every wall is a round already chambered, and once I spend it, it's gone. No recut, no recast, nothing coming up that road but teeth. 40 years I brought walls down, knowing more stone waited at my back. Here, there is none. The wall is the last of itself, and I am meant to make it kill for 12 days and still be standing on the 13th. Lord! Tam has come off the Merlon, close now, careful with it. Is it true? What the crier shouts? Below, the gray hood drags in breath for another round. The light is already going amber off the snowfields, and one of the 12 days is half burned through. Bring me every hand that can lift, I tell them. We count stone before dark. The red seam doesn't end at the wall's foot. It bleeds off the foundation course and down into the gorge, and I'm over the Sallygate sill and onto the descent before the amber goes out of the snow, Tam's voice chasing me. Wait, Lord, and not catching. I don't wait. The wrongness runs ahead of me, plumb and patient. Down a stair the old masons cut 300 years dead. The cold off the river climbs to meet me. At the bottom, the throat narrows to a single span, and there, under the keystone, the one block the whole arch trusts its life to, a hooded lantern burns, and a man kneels with his back to me, driving something into the seat of the stone. He's masked. Gray cloth, eye holes cut, the rest of him wrapped against the cold and against being named. A mallet lifts in his fist. He sets a steel marker to the joint and taps it. Soft, careful. A man who knows one loud strike here would drop the mountain on his own skull. He isn't breaking the keystone. He's measuring where to. Every length he lays is my one wall, and 47 sleep behind it. I take the last 6 feet without a sound. He hears me on the 5th. He spins, mallet swinging for my temple, and I catch it on the forearm. The bone sings and holds, and close inside the arc the way you step inside a falling beam, where the force has nowhere left to spend itself. My hand finds his collar. These scarred fingers remember the trade. I put him into the keystone he came to kill, once, and the mallet rings off the rock and is gone into the black water. He's strong, schooled in the fight, and no sapper. 40 years I have been one. I drive a knee into the small of his back, grind his cheek to the cold stone, and hold him while his breath fogs in tears. He doesn't beg. That tells me more than any confession would. I rake his tools from the snow with my free hand. The marker. A folding brass square, the kind a siege master uses to run a gallery dead level across 100 feet of fill. I turn the square to the lantern. Stamped small into the brass, where a maker signs his work, runs a slim, long-bodied beast mid-leap. The marten. Aldermont's marten. The same animal branded on every tool in his kit, struck deep, issued out of one armory. The mountain never cracked. No omen filed the throat stone too clean. A trained hand did it, leveling galleries under my one wall by lantern light, and that hand draws the Duke's wage. 12 days was never a prophecy. It's a schedule. The steel marker still stands in the joint where his last tap left it, a finger's width of bright metal sunk clean into 300 years of mortar. I leave my knee in his back and reach for it. The hooded lantern hangs by its ring on the ledge. I drag it down, set it where the light spills into the seat of the stone, and look at what he made. The cut is fresh. Pale powder clings to the edges, not yet darkened by the river's breath. Someone has run a line of small, even bites along the keystone's bed, each the same depth, each a hand's breadth from the last. No hammer and cold chisel butchery here. Measured work. The kind a man does slow because he means it to last. I follow it with my thumb. The scars don't wander, they march, off the keystone's heel, along the springing, away into the black where the span roots into the cliff. Behind me, he has stopped fighting. He's watching me read it. I feel the attention on the back of my neck, patient as the cut itself. I bring the lantern lower, to the place where solid foundation should answer my hand, and find instead a black mouth in the rock. A bore, short and level, driven back under the span. A gallery, man-cut, dead straight, the sort you sink to put fire or fall precisely where you want it and nowhere else. I have driven 100 of these. My hands know the ache of holding a level true across that much dark. He hasn't dug a weak place, he's dug the place. The keystone carries the arch carries the road, and the line of his bore runs along the exact seam where the load wants to tear free. The red one, the hinge, the failing I thought lived only behind my own eyes. He found it without my sight. He found it with a square and a level, and 40 years of the same trade. How many of you come back tomorrow? I say, not really asking. Nothing. His breath fogs gray against the granite and is gone. I work the marker out of the joint and turn it to the flame. Wax caps the head. A survey plug, sealed, the kind you leave to fix a measurement so the next hand cuts to your mark at dawn without guessing. He wasn't finishing tonight. He was laying a line for men who haven't climbed down yet. I crouch and put my own palm flat to the bore's lip, the way I'd test any cut not my own, and the workmanship answers back through the cold stone. Clean, deliberate, unhurried. A craftsman's hand. Mine would have left the same edge. That's the thing that goes through me, slow and level as his own line. Up the pass, past 12 days of empty road, sits a man who looks at a wall and sees what I see. Heel and hinge and the one seam that spills a face into a gorge. And he has spent his measure setting all of it against me. I drop the sealed marker into my coat. Whatever the crier shouts about demons, the enemy crossing this throat reads stone the way I do, and he started reading mine first. The floor coughs once, deep under my boots, a sound no living building should make. I haven't slept since the climb back up. I've been sitting against the cold north wall of the inner ward with the sealed marker in my fist, listening to nothing. The cough comes again. Not thunder, stone parting from stone, somewhere below the flags. His men found the gallery's head and laid their last charge under my floor while the clan slept. The ward drops a finger's width. I feel it through my heels before the crack finishes running. Up! Everyone up! Out of the north range! My voice tears the dark open. Doors bang. A child wails somewhere. Mira fills the doorway with a lamp, hair loose, the body's stubborn jaw set hard. Garen! The floor answers her, a long groan rolling under the sleeping quarters where 11 of us bed against the warm chimney breast. I read it the way I'd read any beam at the moment it lets go. The charge has gutted a pocket beneath the ward and the slab field is hinging, tipping north, toward the cots, toward the Harlan baby. Seconds. There's no shoring a floor already falling. You can't catch it. You can only pick where it lands. Across the yard, the old cistern sits dry, a stone throat with nothing in it but black. Break the field south, and it pours into a hole. Break it north, and it pours onto children. One worn flag by the wellhead stands between, keyed at its far edge, taking the thrust the way a locked knee takes a load. Pull that key, and the field loses its northward purchase and rolls the other way. Spend one stone, save the range. I have no quarry at my back. This is ammunition I will never get returned. Tam, the iron bar by the woodpile, now! The boy's already moving, eyes white in the lamplight, and he slaps the cold bar into my palms. I drive it into the joint at the flag's heel, set my boot on the head, and throw every pound the body owns against it. 300-year mortar. It does not want to go. Below me, the diggers strike again. A flat, deliberate tap, seating the wedge that fires their lean, and I feel the floor begin its slow tilt toward the cots. Move! I scream and heave. The flag lets go. It drops into the void with the sound of a struck bell swallowed whole, and the load tears free of the North Range and rolls south. The ward floor buckles, folds, pours itself down the cistern's throat, slab grinding on slab, everything that was under our feet going down at once, and stops, choked, 6 feet shy of the chimney breast. Dust climbs the lamplight. Pebbles patter across cot blankets where no one is lying now. Then quiet, but for the baby howling against Mira's shoulder at the gate. I'm on my knees at the lip of a black pit, bar still in both hands, and I make myself look at what I spent. Good ashlar, 200 weight of it, gone where no hand will ever lift it. 1 block of 47, and there is no 48th coming up the pass to me. Down in the dark, the tapping has stopped. The diggers hold still, listening up through the broken floor, and they felt it, the way you feel a rival's hand ring back through stone. They came to drop my ward, and a hand reached down and steered the fall clean off their line. He'll know now. When the word climbs the pass to him, he will know the warden of this wall can do what he does, and that I am 200 weight poorer for proving it. I close my fist on cold dust and let them hear nothing back. I don't trust a wall I haven't drawn. So while the clan still picks pebbles off the cots and the dust hangs gray in the North Range, I'm in the great hall with the long oak table swept bare and a stub of mason's chalk worn down to the quick. I draw the throat out of the inside of my skull. Curtain wall, the crown-heavy parapet I relieved that first morning. Both buttresses, the single span over the gorge, and the dry cistern that swallowed my floor in the dark, I mark it with a hollow square, a grave with no name on it. Huel finds me bent over the lines. The castellan plants himself across the table, jaw stubbled, last night still sitting in his eyes. They'll want the warden's word, he says. The old vow, hold the wall, keep the gate, hold to the last stone. I keep drawing. Thrust arrows off the buttress heels, the one seam I caught bleeding down into the gorge. I don't hold walls, I tell him. Walls fall. I spent 40 years making sure of it. His arms fold. Then what does the warden swear? I set the chalk on the cistern and look up. At him, at Tam in the doorway, the iron bar still locked in both small fists. At the count of them, I can feel breathing through the wall at my back. I swear to the count, I say, not the stone. Every block in this drawing is one shot, and there's no quarry behind us to load another. So I don't spend a wall to save a wall. I spend it to walk every soul out the far side of this. Far side of what? Huel's voice drops. The criers say demons. No demon cuts a level gallery under your sleeping kin. I tap the span, the keystone, the place I found the Martin stamp pressed clean into the wax. A man does that. A man who squares and levels and reads load exactly the way I read it. And he's up the pass right now, reckoning which of these lines spills the most of us for the least of his powder. The name's been sitting under my tongue since the gorge. I lay it on the table between us. Corwin. Huel's breath goes out of him slow, so the name lands somewhere. Good. I chalk a row of marks in the corner, 12 short strokes, the road's length in days before the breach the criers keep howling about. I draw one clean line through the first. Last night was that, I say, and tap the struck stroke. He'll take one a day if I let him, and make us pay each one in stone we can't get back. 200 weight gone already, and the count still whole. That's the only ledger that balances. Tam steps closer, eyes moving from the chalked walls to my hands and back, weighing one against the other. I pick the chalk up again and close my fist around it till it powders. Then here's the warden's arithmetic. I don't swear to hold this keep. I swear 46 and the Harlan baby breathe past the last of these marks, and that Corwin bleeds himself white buying even one stone of mine. The first blow lands on the splintered gate while I'm still up on the wall walk, the day's chalk gone gray on my knuckles, and the horn riding under the blow is no horn I know, bent, throat deep, built to crawl up your spine in the dark. Demons! Someone screams from the gatehouse. Torches bloom along the pass. Shapes come on howling, horned, hides slick with something that drinks the firelight red, and they hit the gate together. The cracked leaf, the timber a hand cut, the one I marked to fail high near the iron band. It fails, right where I read it. The leaf folds inward and they pour for the gap. Tam's at my elbow, iron bar in both fists, breath sawing. Lord! Stay on the stone. I'm already counting it. The broken leaf, the run-in, the place past it where the curtain wall pinches the road to 4 men abreast. They have to funnel there. Everything funnels there. I drew it that way 300 years after some dead mason built it that way. I find the line. The curtain return above the pinch carries its weight down 1 course of throughstones, and I'd driven a wedge under the 3rd that afternoon and run a frayed rope back to the walk. Pull it, and a sliver shears off and drops plumb into the choke. Not the wall, a cartload of it. The rest holds itself. The first masked man clears the broken leaf, mallet up, 2 more on his heels. I set my boot, take the rope in both hands. The whole return talks back through the hemp. Load wanting down, always down, only waiting on permission. I give it permission. The wedge jumps free. 1 course shears off the return and falls straight. A flat crack and a gout of dust. And then nothing moves under 4 feet of fresh rubble where 3 men stood. 1 cartload spent. I tally it even as the grit climbs the torchlight. A slice, not the wall, and the count behind me still whole. Down the pass the rest of them check, howl, break. The horn quits mid-note. Quiet then, but for grit ticking off my collar and the Harlan baby starting up again far back at the inner gate. I take a torch and go down into the choke while the dust still hangs. An arm juts from the rubble, slick red, and the red comes off on my thumb, greasy, smelling of beef tallow and ochre. I roll it between finger and thumb. Paint, mixed in a pot, brushed on a hide. I crouch over the one the slab caught clean. His horns are pegged crooked to a leather cap. I take the mask by its jaw and pull. A man's face. Stubble, a nose broken and set badly years back. A soldier's face gone slack. On the side of his throat, branded into the skin and healed pale. A marten, sitting up, tail curled. The same beast pressed clean into the wax under the keystone. I turn the next cap over with my boot. Same brand. The third, the same. Tam stares down at the branded throats, then up at me, the bar gone still in his hands. Demons, I say, and let the word drop in the dust where it belongs. Aldermont's livery, sewn into a hide cap and sent up the pass to die screaming so the criers would swear it was hell. The caps lie in a row on the wet cobbles where I set them down. 6 leather hoods, horns pegged crooked, the red paint flaking brown in the morning cold. Behind them, the 6 men. Hauled up from the choke and the gate at first light, and laid on their backs with their throats bared. 6 martens branded pale into 6 necks. The clan stands around the dead in a ragged ring. Brannock at the front, hands tucked in his sleeves. Huel at his shoulder, helm under one arm. Mira off to the side, the Harlan baby finally gone quiet against her neck. 40-odd faces in the gray light, looking from the brands to me and back to the brands. Brannock speaks first, and low. A man can carry the devil's mark and never feel the iron bite. You all heard the horn last night. That was no saddler's work. The horn was a cow's, drilled and bent. I crouch and lift the nearest cap, turn it inside out, hold it up. This is, look at the seam, all holes, even as a ruled line. Whatever came up the pass, it came stitched by a man at a bench. A murmur runs the ring. Some lean in, some pull their children back a pace. I take the plug from my coat and set it on the cobbles between the caps and the bodies. Wax cap up, the marten pressed clean in it. I tip a dead man's chin toward it with 2 fingers. Same beast, same set of the tail. Whoever sealed the survey under the keystone wears this. Whoever branded these throats wears this. 1 hand. I let them look. Aldermont's hand. Huel's jaw works. Why dress soldiers as fiends and march them up here to die on our stone? Here it is. Because a dead man screaming of hell is worth more to him than a live one holding a wall. I point up the dark pass with the chalk still gray on my knuckle. He cut our keystone by daylight. He fired the floor under your sleeping kin. He'll let the criers carry it down to every hearth. Vekrit's throat fell to demons, and then the Duke rides up to save the godly border and keeps the pass he could never take clean. Quiet. The kind that comes before a thing gives. It gives. A woman at the back drops to her knees in the muck and starts to pray, fast, saints' names tumbling. 2 more go down with her. Old Sepha presses her grandson's face into her skirts so he won't see the bared necks. Brannock has already turned half away, and 3 heads turn with him. Then it makes no difference whose demons they are. His voice finds its carry at last. Aldermont comes either way. We take the children south tonight, through the postern, before the road fills. You walk them onto his road, flat. That's the one ground he owns outright. Better his road than your wall. Brannock won't look at the dead. He looks at the gate I marked to fail. It cracked where you said it would, to the inch. That frightens me worse than any horn, Lord. The ring is 2 rings now. Kneelers in the muck on one side, calling up at a sky that won't answer. On the other, men already counting heads, already cutting their eyes to the dark mouth of the postern stair. Mira's gaze comes to me over the baby's downy skull, steady, waiting to see which way I pull. 46 and the Harlan baby, parting clean along a flaw I never cut. White cloth on the pass, Lord. Tam's voice comes flat off the parapet, and the saints' names die in the women's throats. I climb to the gap in the sheared curtain and look up the road. One rider, walking his horse slow through the drifting smoke of the burned North Range. A square of bleached linen lashed to a lance. No column behind him. Not yet. He stops the horse a stone's throw out and waits to be let in. Patient. A man who has read this wall already and knows the price of every course in it. Brannock, hold your people. I come down off the rubble. Nobody takes the postern while that flag's up. We meet him in the gateway, where I've had a plank laid across 2 powder barrels. He swings down easy for a heavy man, hands me his lance butt first, and the first thing he does is not look at me. He looks at the choke, at the single course I sheared into it last dusk, at the 3 dead under it, and his eyes track the broken line the way a clerk's finger goes down a column of figures. Clean shear, he says. Dropped 1 course, let the rubble do the rest. I'd have taken 2. He sets a folding boxwood rule on the plank between us, and a small brass level beside it, square to the grain. Corwin Vale, the Duke's man for walls. So this is the hand. Gray stubble, a thumb flattened from 40 years of my own trade, and under the brow the same eyes, measuring my gait, pricing my dead, reading where the throat wants to fail. You found my keystone with these. I touch the level, not a question. Square, level, and the patience to climb a stair in the dark, almost a smile. You found it some faster way. I watched the gate crack to the inch yesterday and knew there were 2 of us in this pass. He lays out the terms without heat. The Duke's column sits a day south. Under the Martin, every soul walks the postern road by nightfall, fed, escorted, settled on Aldermont land. Protection. He says the word and lets it stand on its own legs. Protection, I say, from the demons you painted, from the next thing up the pass. He nudges the rule a half-inch truer to the plank, fussy, exact. You can't quarry. I counted your blocks from the road. You've spent ashlar on a floor and a course already. 2 more nights of me and you throw the cistern lid after them. You know the sum better than I do. Then he does the thing that turns my gut to cold stone. His gaze goes to Mira, to the baby against her neck, and I watch him price them, not as kin, as load. 46 bodies and an infant, walking weight, deliverable south at a fixed cost. That is the flaw in him. He reads the same grids I read. He simply spends the wrong material. Where I throw a wall to walk a man out the far side, he throws the man and keeps the wall, because the wall is what Roderick wants to own when the smoke clears. You spend them, I say. I spend stone. I spend what wins. He doesn't blink. Sign them over, Vekrit. Orderly, under the cloth. Or the column comes up and it's a sack, and then nobody's left to count at all. Behind me, Brannock's breath catches. Half his faction already leaning toward that white flag, that fed road, that 1 day's grace. I put 2 fingers on the brass level and slide it off the plank into the dust. No. He watches it fall and doesn't reach for it. Take your rule and your linen back up the pass. Tell Roderick the throat counts its own. 47 walk out the far side, or none do, and not one of them walks your road. Corwin folds the boxwood rule shut and pockets it. The brass level he leaves in the dust where I put it. He mounts heavy, wheels the horse, and walks it back up the smoking road at the pace of a man who has set his charge and only needs to wait for the match to find the powder. I turn back into the gateway. The ring has decided without me. Brannick is off his knees and moving. He isn't running. Old men don't run. But his hand is flat between a girl's shoulder blades, steering her toward the dark mouth of the postern stair. Behind him come 3 families with bundles already roped and shouldered. They packed while I stood on the plank. They packed before the white cloth ever came down. Brannick, hold! Low, level, the way I'd call a stop across open ground. He stops. He turns. His face isn't defiance. It's pity. And pity doesn't argue. You marked the gate to crack, and it cracked to the inch. The words leave him in chips. A man who reads stone like scripture. I can't follow that into the dark, Lord. It frightens me worse than the horns did. The man on that horse prices your grandchildren by weight. I keep my voice flat, one hand on the cold gate iron. His road ends in a yard with the Duke's brand on the post. He counts us. Brannick's jaw works. You count us. 47, you keep saying. 47, and I'd sooner be a man than a sum. He turns the girl's shoulder. Go on, child. I look to the 2 clansmen at the stairhead. Hugh's men. Bar it. They don't move. They look at me wearing their dead lord's brow, and they look at the old man who dandled half this yard on his knee, and the iron bar stays leaning in its bracket, and not one hand goes to it. So I go myself. I put my back in the postern doorway, one body in the gap, the way I'd brace a lintel that's already gone. It doesn't hold. A lintel I can read. People flow where they flow. A woman ducks under my arm without meeting my eye, her shawl smelling of cold ash and milk. The girl slips past my knee. Then a boy, then his mother, then Brannick's own broad back. None of them shoving, all of them simply going. Around me, past me, down into the dark where the stair breathes mountain air up cold against my face. I could put a fist in the old man's throat and drop him. I've dropped heavier. The instant I lay one hand on one of them, every soul left in this yard learns exactly what kind of lord wears this face, and I lose the rest by morning. I let them go. 9 off the count, down the stair, the latch falling to behind the last shawl with a small iron click. Mira watches me from across the muck, the Harlan baby asleep on her neck, and says nothing. There is nothing to say. The number I swore by walked out the postern, and I stood in the doorway and held it open with my own spine. I don't wait for the latch to stop ringing. I take the north stair 2 at a time up onto the wall walk that hangs over the first switchback, because the postern empties onto that road, and that road belongs to the man on the horse. Below me, the 9 are already strung down the gravel. Brannick, the girl, the woman who smelled of cold ash and milk, bundles bobbing in gray first light. Then 4 riders come off the high bend, Martin on the breast, lances dropping to the couch, and the lead horse opens to a gallop the instant it sights soft backs to run down. I marked the frost-split shelf 2 days back. A flake of limestone the size of a hay cart hung over the switchback on one rotten seam, wanting only a reason to let go. That afternoon I set an iron pinch bar deep in the crack and ran a tarred line from its long arm up to a cleat on the wall walk. Insurance. I never meant to spend it on my own. One of the 2 who wouldn't touch the postern bar has followed me up the stair. Young, white around the mouth. The line. I close his fists on the rope. Both hands. Heave when I say, not before. The arithmetic is filthy. Drop early and the riders rein up clean on dry road. Drop late and the shelf takes Brannick down with them. There is one breath between those, and it belongs to me. I lean out over the parapet and put everything I have into my throat. Brannick, run! Past the white scar. Don't you stop at the white scar. He looks up, finds me on the wall. For half a heartbeat, the old pity is still sitting on his face. Then the first lance point lowers toward the girl's spine, and pity is a luxury he drops in the road. He shoves her ahead of him. They run. The woman hauls a stumbling boy by the wrist. The girl clears the fresh, chalk-pale gouge under the shelf, and one by one, the 9 pour past it and downhill with their lungs tearing. The riders come on behind, into the choke, onto the slab I undercut. The lead horse plants a hoof square on it. Now! We haul together, the boy and I, and 40 feet below, the bar bites into the seam and pries. The failure runs back up the tarred rope into my palms, a breath before the crack reaches my ears. The flake peels off the cliff and comes down plumb. A cart of limestone, falling clean, takes the switchback the way a dropped lintel takes a finger. No drama in it. One moment, 4 horsemen fill the choke. The next, there is gray dust standing in a column, and under it, a sound that is mostly horse and very little man. A lance skitters out of the cloud and rings off the lower road, end over end. The dust thins. The road above the scar is gone under rubble. The road below it is empty and whole, and on it, 9 of my people are picking themselves up off the gravel, breathing. High on the bend, a single horse stands. Corwin, hood back, reading the heap of stone where his patrol used to be, reading it as well as I can. He doesn't ride down. He turns the horse and walks it up into the pines, and I let him go, because the road just told everyone watching exactly what his white cloth is worth. Brannock climbs back up the switchback the slow way old men climb, one hand flat on the cut stone, grit in his beard, a graze weeping along his jaw. He stops below the parapet and looks at the rubble, then at the pale scar, then at me. "You counted us," he says. Not the accusation it was an hour ago. He says it like a man reading a debt he never knew he carried. Behind him, the families are turning their bundles uphill without being told. The woman, the boy, the girl with the milk and ash shawl, drawn back toward the gate by the only arithmetic left on this mountain that keeps them warm. I come down to meet them. Nobody calls me Lord. Nobody needs to. The young man who heaved the rope falls in at my shoulder. The 2 who left the bar leaning lift it now and set it home. And Brannock files past into the yard with his grandchild's hand in his fist, does not meet my eye, and stays. The water in the horse trough by the keep door has no business moving. No wind in the yard, no hand near it, and still a ring shivers across the surface and dies against the cold iron rim. I watch it go. Then I take the cellar stair down into the dark where the keep sits on the mountain's spine. Huel follows with a tallow lamp, and the flame leans, rights itself, leans again. "You've not slept," he says. "Bring it lower." I walk the footings the way I'd walk a magazine before they handed me the match. Every course is ordnance now. I read which block holds the load and which only pretends, where a man with a pick and patience would come at us and where he wouldn't bother. The throat's keystone rides this rock, hard granite to the north, hard to the east. One soft seam runs in from the west cleat, clay and broken shale, quiet to dig, easy to shore. That's the door. If I were Corwin, that's my road. "Settling," Huel says, watching my hand flat on the wall. "Old keep. She talks in the cold. She doesn't talk in time." I crouch and lay my palm where the footing meets bedrock. Grit under my fingers, the damp breath of stone that hasn't seen sun since it was set. I wait. It comes up through my wrist before it reaches my ears. A tremor, low and wrong in the worst way a tremor can be wrong. Even, spaced. A pause, then the next, then the pause again, measured out by a hand that never hurries. Settling has no rhythm. Rock breaks when it breaks. This keeps a beat. "Lamp," I say, "on the floor, don't touch it." Huel sets it down. The flame stands straight a moment, then a fine thread of dust sifts off the joint above the soft seam, hangs in the light, and drifts. The next beat rolls up. The dust jumps and falls again. "That's a pick," I tell him. "Iron on rock. Somewhere under our feet a man swings, lifts, swings. Listen to the gap, same length every time. That's not a frightened man, and it's not a fast one. That's a foreman counting strokes so his diggers don't blow their wind. Huel's mouth opens. Nothing comes out of it. I press both hands to the bedrock and close my eyes and let the beats find their line. Bearing west and a hair south, shallow now, the sound carries too clean to be far. I track it back along the soft seam toward the one point on this whole mountain I cannot lose, and the grids behind my eyes light the path for me in dull red, the gallery already drawn, already half cut, climbing toward the keystone's heel. He didn't ride off to let fear work. Fear was the noise. This is the work. While I set my spine in a doorway and dropped a shelf on 4 horsemen and counted my 47 back through the gate, Corwin had men in the ground, swinging in the dark, days of it, the way I'd have done it. Quiet, no tower, no banner, nothing to read until the floor opens. He's under us. He has been under us. How long? Huel whispers. How long's he been down there? I don't answer. The next pick strike comes, and it lands closer than the last, close enough that the dust doesn't drift this time but leaps straight off the joint, and a single dry pebble lets go of the seam and rolls to a stop against the toe of my boot. The scrape of our own pick comes back wrong down the timber, and I throw up a fist, and Pell holds his swing high above his shoulder. Quiet! 3 nights we've been in the ground after Corwin. A branch cut off the cellar gallery, west, and a hair south, straight onto his line. Candle smoke crawls flat along the roof. Huel hunches at the spoil heap, hands black to the elbow. I lay my palm to the raw face and wait for the beats. They come nearer than they did at dusk. The foreman's count still holds its gap. Swing, lift, swing, but the bearing has crept north of the heel. He's heard our iron. He's slewing his gallery to meet mine head-on, the way I'd slew mine onto his, 2 blind men reading each other through a hand of shale. He knows, Huel says. Since noon. I set my ear to the rock and let Corwin draw his own line for me. He means to hole through above us and drop our roof before we reach his. So I go first. Undercut his floor, pack the chamber, pull it down. His gallery folds into the gap, and his diggers with it. The catch, the seam I blow sits over my own face. Same clay, same broken shale, north to south, no granite in it to hold. Break his roof, and I unkey mine in the same breath. Powder, 2 kegs, no more. Pell crawls it forward on his belly, and I tamp the back of the chamber with my own hands, packing the clay so the force throws sideways into Corwin's floor and not up into ours. Margin is everything here. The blast wants to climb. I give it a wall and a door, and the only road left open is his. I cut the fuse short and hold it up to his face. 5 count. Light it and run. Don't reach for the iron. Don't look back. Pass the second timber set before it goes. Hear me? Aye. His voice cracks on it. He's 19 and steady-handed, and he sets the coal to the cord the way I taught him. It catches. It runs. Faster than dry hemp should. The powder spit's wrong. The cord's drinking flame. The 5 counts a 3 before my mouth is even open. Pell, go! He turns. He's quick. His boot finds the first set, and his hand's already out for the second when the chamber speaks, low and flat. A fist of air down the gallery that kills the candle and shoves the dark into my teeth. Corwin's floor drops. I feel it go through my heels, the whole enemy line folding into the gap I cut for it. My roof, unkeyed, lets go 1 heartbeat behind. I hear the seam part above him, that long, dry tearing, and then the slab comes off the joint and takes Pell across the back between one set and the next, and the sound it makes is nothing like a man. Huel gets the candle lit with shaking hands. Pell's fist is out of the spill, fingers open, still reaching for the timber. Nothing else of him shows. A dark thread runs from under the stone and pools bright in the new light, and it does not stop coming. Frost on the windlass crank, gray light barely in the yard, and Mare Harlan hauling the well rope with her whole back because the buckets come up heavier than water ought to weigh. "It's snagged," she calls. "On the lip! Help me! It won't clear!" I cross the cobbles. The rime cracks under my boots. The trough beside the well stands brown this morning where it ran clear all week, a skin of grit floating fine as flour on the top, and I dip 2 fingers and taste lime water and broken shale, my shale. The west seam, ground to paste and carried here in water. The well has risen, a foot at least overnight. The wet mark stands dark above the old. "Stop hauling." I take the rope out of her hands. It isn't the bucket fouling the lip. Something turns down there in the dark, slow, nudging the stone with a softness no stone makes, and I know the weight in my palms before I see it, the way you know a beam is dead before it shows the crack. I haul, hand over hand. Mary's gone quiet behind me. Dell comes up out of the shaft face first, white, his collar packed with silt, one boot gone, his lamp cord still wound twice round his wrist, where the water took him too fast to unwind it. Behind me, Mary makes a sound. The bucket boy drops his armful of kindling. I lay him on the cobbles, cold all through, hours cold. The silt in his mouth is the silt in the trough, is the silt I tasted, and the whole shape of it stands up in me, clean and finished. Corwin didn't dig to Dell. He dug to the water. He found the table under the east workings, hold it with one charge, and let it in. Let the flood do the cutting. Fill the gallery floor to roof in the time it takes a man to drop his pick and reach for a ladder that's already under. Dell never got a face to read, just the cold climbing his legs and the dark closing the door. Then Corwin walked his rising water to the one shaft that lifts into my keep, and he floated the body up to me. I crouch over Dell with my hand flat on his ruined chest and read what he sent, written in my own grammar, no banner, no word. "You spend stone. You've a finite count of it. So have you of these. I'll drown your galleries a man at a time and send each one up your own well to lie in your yard, and your people will watch the water turn brown and know I'm beneath them, until there's nothing left for you to drop and no one left who will dig when you say dig. I spend what wins. This wins." Mary is whispering his name over and over and getting no further. The bucket boy hasn't moved. In the doorways, the first faces come out into the gray, see the boot gone, see the cord on the wrist, and go still the way I need them not to go still. I press my palm to the cobbles between Dell's shoulder and the well mouth. Down in the bedrock, faint and even, the foreman's count starts up again. A fresh bearing, a new gallery, already climbing toward us through the wet. 3 names. That's all the Duke wants set down. 3, and they walk the postern free. The voice comes up the cistern stair ahead of the light, and I stop 2 steps short of the cellar arch with my palm flat on the cold jamb. Past midnight, the yard above gone dark and the frost coming on. I'd followed a marten track down here, a heel print in the lime dust by the grain bins, narrow, a town cobbler's stitch, no boot of ours. Now I have the man who cut it. 1 candle set on a salt barrel. Brannock across from him, working the brim of his hat with both thumbs. The agent is small and dry, a courier's build, a marten clasp at his throat catching the tallow. He has a wax tablet open on his knee and a stylus and all the patience of a man who knows the door is already half off its hinge. "My daughter," Brannock says, his voice won't sit still. "Her 2 girls, that's 3. Then write them. And the road sworn safe, after the switchback, after what he did to your patrol up there, you'll grant me wanting it sworn." Something shifts in the agent's face, not quite a smile. "The patrol was a lesson. We've taken it." He turns the tablet toward the light. "Your warden lord drops mountains on men. I'd not stand under his stone when this ends either. Sign." I should go in now. I know the arithmetic to the grain. 1 cut throat, the agent silent, the door still hours by dawn. My boots already found the loose flag that won't creak. I don't lift it. A door I don't know is the one that kills us, opened some night with no name on it, no hour, no hand I can read in the dark. This one I'll have all of. The traitor, the hour, the very stone they mean to lift. Let it open. I'll be the thing standing in the gap. It's not selling them, Brannick says, to himself, not the agent, the way a man holds the floor after he's already lost the argument. He'll bury us all to be right. 45 and dropping by the morning. I pull 3 out of the water before it closes over them. That's saving. That's not the other thing. That's saving, the agent agrees, gentle as lime going off in the pail. Sign, elder. The stylist scratches. 3 names. I watch his old hand do it and feel the clan's main beam part along a grain I never checked. Not the wall, never the wall I can hold all winter. The seam runs through us. He pockets the tablet. Then he sets a thing on the barrel between them, and the candle finds it before my eyes finish reading what my gut already has. A blank of gray wax, thumb-sized, pressed once, and waiting for the second bite. The East Postern, he says, both faces. We cut our own key off the cost. You needn't even be standing there when it turns. Brannick draws the iron key from under his coat, the clan's key, the one that hangs by the chandler's loft. He lays it in the wax, presses with the heel of his hand, lifts. Every ward of our oldest door stands up clean in the gray, copied now into a courier's palm. He's handed Corwin the lock. I stay in the dark and let him do it, and behind my teeth, I begin to draw the charge that goes under that threshold. The East Postern jumps inward against its bar, iron grinding iron, and the false key finds every ward I drew the charge beneath 2 nights back. I'm flat on the bastion stair with the firing cord wound twice round my fist, frost on the steps. Below me, the door gives a hand's width, and the first man slides through sideways, a hooded shape, marten stitched gray on the shoulder, then a second. A third behind him, and a low voice riding the cold. Yard's clear, take the well first. Corwin's words in another man's mouth. The captain comes through fourth, broad, unhurried, and sets his boot on our threshold like the ground's already bought. Count them in. I need the file past the turn, under the keyed slab, before the cord is worth pulling. 4 through. 6. The captain lifts a hand, and more leak after, a black thread feeding through a slot cut for 1. Then Joss. He shouldn't be here. I posted him to the chandler's loft an hour back and told him to count his breaths and do nothing. He's come down the inner stair anyway, white to the lip, and he sees what I see. Too many through, the file not stopping, the yard about to open behind them. He doesn't look up the stair for me. He goes. Joss. It leaves me low, killing quiet, and he doesn't hear it, or won't. He hits the postern with his whole weight, shoulder into the oak, drives it back against the press. The gap eats to a fist. Men inside the throat turn at the sound. The captain's head comes round. Shut it or we drown, sir! Joss shouts up at me, grinning, the bright, mad grin of a boy who's worked the sum and likes his half of it. Light it! I've got the door! He's wedged in the gap now. His body is the bar. The captain reads it a breath behind me, boy in the door, stair, cord, and roars, "Back! Get back!" and throws his shoulder into the oak from inside. Joss takes it, takes the next, and holds. A blade goes in low through the gap, and he grunts, sets his boots, does not give the door an inch. I have it. The captain and his file sealed under the keyed slab. The count right. I have Joss in the gap. There is no pull of this cord that lets the boy walk out. The slab comes down on the threshold he's holding, and I know the failure line of my own charge the way I know the backs of my hands. He looks up the stair at last. Whatever's on my face, he answers it. Go on, he says, quieter now. 44's better than the well. I pull. The bastion drops straight, no tilt, the whole keyed mass folding into the postern throat with a slam that punches the wind out of me and heaves dust and broken shale up the stair to bury me past the knee. The roar runs out into the dark. When it settles, there's no door, no captain, no marten file, and a long run of our oldest wall, the stone I will never cut the like of again, poured solid into the gap. Under it, the boy. I go down into the rubble on my hands to dig for him, already knowing the weight I'll lift won't be warm. A man crosses my buried wall, careful with his feet. I know the walk before the face, each stone weighed for what it carries, the way I'd cross my own work. Corwin Vale. He's come up the outer slope through the settling dust, alone, a horn lamp swinging low in his fist and no marten stitched anywhere on him. I stay on my knees in the shale, both arms into the elbow. Don't, he says it the moment my hand finds the spike at my belt. I left mine below. He sets the lamp on a broken merlin and crouches across the rubble from me. Easy, 2 masons over a wall that won't stand. His palm goes flat to the keyed slab I dropped. He reads it the way I read it. Weight gone straight down, no tilt, the posture and throat packed solid to the lintel. Clean, he says. You undercut the keyed course and let the mass fold itself in. I'd not have done it different. Off my wall. Your wall took my captain and the file behind him. Cost me a season to grow another captain. No heat in it. Counting. Then his eyes find the spot under the slab where my hands keep working, and hold there. What's beneath your hands, Vekrit? The shale comes away cold. I don't answer it. A boy. He's reading me now, not the stone. You dropped a wall you can never cut the like of again, to shut one door, and you put one of your own under it to make the door hold. A slow shake of the head. That's the flaw in your work. You carry blood like it bears load. It doesn't. It's the first thing in any structure to fail. It rots, it runs, it casts your own key in wax and sells it. Brannock, in his mouth. My jaw sets. Serve what outlasts the men, he says. The stone, the seat. Roderick Aldermont will be bones, and there'll still be a throat here, and a man who knows the taking of it. Keep faith with that, not with 40-odd frightened cousins. 44, I say, and I mean each one, down to the Harlan baby that can't yet hold its own head. Walls I'll spend, every block I own and the ones I'll never replace. Never them. He stands, lifts the lamp. The light swings across the broken merlons and down the dark pass toward the lowland, and he looks that way a long moment, weighing the road. Then you've spent badly. His voice goes flat, almost kind. I came to take this pass whole and hand it over swept. You've gone and sealed your own gate with your own oldest wall. Clever, costly, and no use to you at all. A thin breath out his nose. Roderick's column steps off from Aldermont at dawn. 2,000 foot, the rams, the boars. They march to inherit a pass I promised would already be theirs. He sets his boot on the slab, on the boy. I'll send word ahead that it isn't swept. They come regardless. He steps down off my wall, lamp swinging, and does not look back. 3 days to your throat, Vekrit. Dig fast. I count the dead the way I count a wall's courses. What still bears, what's spent, what I'll never lay again. 2 beers in the yard, the light going copper off the west ridge. Dell on the near one, wrapped close, the well still heavy in her. The far beer holds no body at all. Joss is where I put him, packed under our oldest stone, and the little cairn we raised over empty boards is a courtesy paid to the living. They stand in the cold around both. Mira at the head, her sleeves dark to the elbow from washing what the water gave back. Tam at the foot of the empty bier, watching my hands instead of the dead. No one prays long. Hunger makes a short rite of grief. Then Harlan steps over the edge of it. Big man, soot still worked into the creases of his knuckles, his wife behind him with the baby that can't yet hold up its own head. 2 more tonight, he says, and you sealed the one door that let the rest of us walk. I don't turn from Dell. Vale named a price. Wait for souls. Walk out, he said. You heard it plain as I did. His voice climbs a notch and takes others up with it. Now there's no postern and a column on the road. You've made the throat our grave, Vekrit. A sound moves through them, not shouting. Worse, the low agreement that hardens, course by course, into something I won't be able to talk down. He'd not have walked you anywhere but a pen, I say. He prices kin by the stone. You'd weigh out light and the baby lighter. Better penned than buried. Harlan's wife won't look at me. That's the blow that lands. I let it. I owe them the counting, so I do it where they can watch my face hold steady while I run the survey under it. 44 left, the baby in that tally. The east workings drowned and useless, the postern poured solid, The keyed bastion spent, our oldest wall gone into a throat it can never come back out of. I have a curtain wall a frost could shoulder through, 2 sound courses of merlon, and timber I've already robbed twice. 3 days. Then 2,000 foot, the rams, the boars, walking up a pass I've stripped of everything I had to drop in front of them. There's nothing left to bring down. The thought stops me cold, because it isn't true, and the part of me that's read load for 40 years already knows it isn't. I lift my eyes off Dell's gray face and up the yard, past the dying light, to the keep. It stands where it has always stood, squat, 4 stories of dressed gray block, the warden's seat, the spine the whole hold hangs its weight from, Mira's infirmary on the 2nd floor, the hall where I was named Lord. The largest single mass of cut stone inside these walls by 100-fold, sitting on bedrock at the exact lip where the pass narrows to its tightest bite. I read it the way Corwin read my dropped bastion. Wait, and where it wants to go. Undercut the northeast footing. Take the corbel course there and there. Let the floors carry the load to the front face and pull the whole seat down its own height and into the throat. 4 stories of ancestral block folded straight into the gap where a column has to file through 3 abreast, or not at all. Corwin told me to serve the seat, to keep faith with the stone that outlasts the men. My hands have stopped shaking. Around me the muttering goes on, Harlan still naming me their gravedigger, and I let them, because they don't yet see what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the seat, the thing I was told to save above all the frightened cousins standing in this yard. It will make the cleanest killing ground I have ever built. Mira catches my face then, and follows my eyes up to the keep, and goes very still. She knows that look on this body now. "Garen," she says, "no." I'll drop the house. "Look up," I say, loud enough to cut across Harlan's last word. "All of you, look at what you're standing under." Heads tip back. A pointing hand pulls the eye before the mind can argue, and 40-some faces lift to the keep gone black against the copper west. 4 stories, I say, dressed gray block on bedrock, the heaviest single thing inside these walls by 100-fold. That's the seat. Risa, by the well, knuckles white on the rope. That's where we come from. It's where they'll read your names off the stone. I let that sit 1 breath. Leave it standing and it's a marker, nothing more. A gravestone the size of a hall, over 44. Harlan steps in front of me, blotting the last light. "You sealed our door. Now you'd pull our own roof onto our heads." I go down on 1 knee in the cold ash beside the empty beer and drag 2 fingers through it. Here's the pass. A line, then the walls closing to a notch. It bites down to 3 men abreast at the worst of it. Vale's 2,000 foot have to thread that. Rams behind. Boars behind those. I set my fist in the ash above the notch. Here's the keep, on the lip. At the tightest bite. Tam crouches across from me, dark eyes on my hands instead of the dead, already running the sum. Undercut the northeast footing, I say. Pull 2 corbel courses, let the floors throw her weight to the front face, and she folds down her own height into the gap. I open the fist over the drawn notch, 4 stories of your ancestors, into a hole they can cross 3 wide and no wider. For a moment, the only sound is the Harlan baby fretting against its mother's shoulder. Then it breaks. That's our blood mortared in those walls. Where do we sleep, fool? He's lost his reason. The mutter climbs back toward the thing I won't be able to talk down. Mira's infirmary's on the 2nd floor. Her voice, low, meant for me alone. The hall where they named you. Garen. There are people abed up there now. We carry them out first. Every soul, every blanket, down into the Merlin line before a chisel touches a footing. I stand. My knees crack. I'll not spend one of you to drop it. I'll spend the house to keep the 44. It's stone, Harlan says. It outlasts men. That's the whole worth of it. Then make it earn its keep for once. I round on him. A keep doesn't fight. It sits there and waits to mark where you fell. I can make ours the largest weapon any Vecret ever swung. One drop, and the road into the throat closes with their captain under it. His wife lifts her face. First time tonight she's looked straight at me. And if it doesn't come down clean, she says. It will. I hold her eyes. I know the failure line of that house the way I know the backs of my hands. I knew Joss's too. I don't pull a cord I'm not sure of, and I won't undercut a footing I am not. The baby's whole future is in that, and they all hear it. Harlan looks up at the keep a long time. Soot worked into the creases of his knuckles, his wife's shoulder under his palm, the child that can't yet hold up its own head. You drop it into them, he says. Not onto us. Into them. Swear it. On the empty beer. I lay my hand flat on the boards where Joss's body isn't. The cold comes up through my palm, the wood hairline checked with frost. On this, I say. The seat goes down the throat, not over the yard. Every last one of you breathing when it falls. Harlan's jaw works. Then he turns to the yard and raises his sooted hand, slow, the way a man lifts a roof beam he isn't yet sure will bear. Strip the keep, he says. Do as the warden tells you. Risa lets go of the well rope. Tam is already on his feet, counting doorways under his breath. One by one, the hands come up around the two beers. Not a cheer, a tally, until the whole yard has answered, and the house above us stops being our roof and becomes the charge I'll lay. The back gallery smells of wet rope and tallow, a smell I trust more than any face in this clan. We bring the keep down to us first, blankets, the grain sacks, the two beers, and feed it all into the mountain spine through a cut braced once, long ago, by hands that then forgot to fear it. I work the choke point by hand, a green oak prop butted to the floor, shouldered up under the worst sag in the roof, and I drive the foot wedge with the flat of an axe until the timber sings the right note. Tight, not screaming. Screaming wood is wood about to let go. Keep them moving, I tell Harlan. He has Dell's beer on his shoulder, his wife behind him with the child, and he ducks the low span without being told twice. They come through in a file no wider than the rock allows. Mira leads her abed ones, the fever boy walking on two shoulders, the old woman half carried, and she counts them off as they pass me, lips moving, the same broad jaw as mine set hard in the dark. Tam, I catch the boy's collar. Tally, 44 breathing. He doesn't slow. 2 on the beers. I've got the back. You've got the middle. I've got the back. He wants to argue. He reads my face the way he reads a split lintel, decides it'll hold, and goes. Then it comes up under the shuffle of feet. A pick. Iron-biting rock, off to the left, behind the blind drift that everyone else takes for solid wall. I lay my palm flat to that wall. The blows climb through the stone into the bones of my hand. Steady, 2 men working a face, and close. Corwin's forward diggers, threading their line to cut ours. He read this gallery the same hour I did. Of course he did. Mira, push them past the turn. Now, not gentle. The pick changes pitch. Higher, thinner, a hand's depth of rock left between us and them. I read where it has to break. Not the wall they're hammering. That's dressed. It'll hold a beat longer. The unbraced shoulder above the blind drift. That's where I'd hole through, if I were the man on the far side with a quota and a clock. Come in high. Let the roof do half the work. So I take the choice from him. I set my second prop under that shoulder, kick the wedge half home, leave it bearing just enough to hold. A prop meant to fall. The column scrapes past at my back, beer runners grinding stone, the Harlan baby starting its thin complaint, and a coat smothering it. The wall lets go where I said it would. A block the size of a saddle punches inward, dust and lamp glare behind it, and a man comes through shoulder first with a short pick already swinging for my head. A marten stamped on the leather over his heart. I take the blow on the loose prop. His pick head buries in green oak. His weight rides it down, and for half a breath, we're nose to nose in the candle smoke, both of us reading the same roof. He sees it last. I kick the wedge out. The loaded shoulder drops its courses straight down the gap he opened, onto his line, into his light, and the drift folds with a cough of grit that snuffs his lamp and 3 of mine. Stone settles. Behind it, a man is shouting, muffled, alive, already digging back the way he came. I go backward, through the black on my hands, fingers reading the floor for the turn, and Tam's grip locks on my wrist and hauls. The choke point prop groans overhead, holding on a wedge and a note I drove true. We clear the turn as the roof behind us comes down to kiss the floor. What does a dead pass look like to the one man who could tell I'd built it? That's the question wedged in my chest as I lie in the siding crack with Tam, a hand's width of cold air between our faces and the long fall to the gorge floor. Below us, the throat is doing what I told it to do. Gray dust still climbs off the wreck I pulled an hour back. Not the keep, only the brow above the mouth, slid across the gap in one tired heave. "Looks like we lost," Tam breathes. "That's the idea." I didn't drop it clean. A clean drop is my hand, and Corwin knows my hand the way I'd know his, so I gave him the opposite. Courses kicked off true, a prop snapped at mid-span, splinters bright, a fall that reads as men who tried to seal their own door and went down under it, no bodies to count because the rock swallowed them. The story builds itself if I lay the pieces right, if he reads it the way I need him to read it. Movement on the far lip. The Martin banner first, limp in the dead air, then the diggers, then a single figure who steps past all of them and stops at the edge of the wreck. Corwin. No mistaking how he stands. He reads a slope before he sets a foot on it, same as me. Down, I tell Tam, and we sink lower until only our eyes clear the lip. He comes onto the rubble slow, crouches, lays his palm flat to a kicked-out block the way you'd feel a horse's leg for heat, and I stop breathing. Because this is the whole of it. One stone reader's hand on another's lie. Hold, I think at the wreck. Tell him what I told you to tell him. He moves to the snapped prop, turns the broken end to the light. A cut beam shows the saw. Mine I broke green, across the grain, fibers torn the way wood tears under a roof it could no longer carry. He runs a thumb down the splinters, sets it down. Then he does the thing I feared. He puts his ear to the stone, listening for picks, for the tap of 44 people breathing on the far side of his win. I'd have done the same. There's nothing under there to hear but settling grit. I emptied the back gallery before I pulled the brow, drove every soul past the turn, and the only iron-biting rock now is his own diggers, a quarter mile off. He stays bent a long time. My hands ache from gripping cold stone. "Stand up," I tell him. "You've won. Believe you've won." He stands. He turns to the lip behind him and lifts one arm. Slow, the way Harlan lifted his over the beers, except this hand is sure of what it bears, and brings it down toward the gorge. Below, a horn coughs once. The head of Aldermont's column noses out of the upper dark and pours into the cut beneath us. Rams on their rollers, the bore engine groaning along its log train, men 5 wide where the gorge lets them be 5 wide, lamps and banners flowing in under the column of rock that holds my keep. They come confident. A pass with dead wardens isn't a battle, it's a road. Corwin watches them pass from above, hands behind his back, and I read the set of his shoulders even at this range. He thinks the clock stopped. He thinks the door is open. I press my palm to the rock beside the crack and find the line I cut this morning, the one running up under the warden's seat, through the spine of the house to the column's high shoulder. Still bearing, still mine. The fuse for it waits 2 turns down, where Tam's grip can reach it on my word. "They're under," Tam whispers. "Not yet." I watch the bore engine grind dead center into the narrows, square under the keep. Now they're under. I set my thumb on the cord. The cord comes taut under my thumb, then bites, and a thin, hot line peels away down the rock toward the seat. I feel it go more than hear it, a tremor walking up through my palm. 12 days I've carried this house in my head, every footing, every course, every place the weight wants to travel when you take its legs. I cut the line this morning under the warden's seat. The fuse runs it now. Tam's breath stops beside me. Down in the dark of the keep, the charge finds the northeast footing, the one I hollowed, the one carrying the corner, and the corner simply stops being there. The seat does not throw outward. That's the thing he won't expect, the thing I built against. A blasted keep scatters stone wide and random, a drunk going down. Mine folds. The corbel courses let go top to base. The 4 floors hand their load forward to the front face the way I told them to, and the whole 4-story block leans out over the throat and starts down its own height into the cut. It folds the way I made it fold, directional, clean as a hinge. Across the gorge, Corwin feels it through his boots first. I watch him come up out of his crouch on the rubble of my false brow, fast, faster than his diggers, because he's the only man down there whose feet can read what mine just did. He turns to the keep. I see it land on him, not as fear, as arithmetic. He reads the lean, reads the sequence in the dust, reads the corner gone where no honest fall takes a corner, and his head snaps round and up, hunting the hand that did it, hunting the ridge. He finds me, a hand's width of cold air, 200 feet of dead pass, and his eyes come straight to the sighting crack as though I'd called his name. He knows. The brow I drop to tell him the wardens died sealing their door, he reads it now for what it was. A story laid to walk him onto this stone at this breath. His mouth opens. He throws one arm down at the column in the narrows, the same arm that waved them in, and he's shouting a word I can't hear. Back, out, run. The word a man spends when there's no time left to spend it. There's no time left. The keep comes down into the throat, where the pass bites 3 abreast. It comes down on the head of the column, on the rams on their rollers, on the bore engine grinding dead center, on the men 5 wide with their lamps lifted. 40 years I brought walls down with more stone waiting at my back. This is the last one, nothing behind it. The sound arrives a beat after the sight, not a crack, but a long grinding cough I feel in my teeth and my breastbone, and dust slams up the gorge in a gray wall that swallows the banners, the lamps, the martin, the lifted arm. Tam has his face in the rock. The dust climbs past us and keeps climbing. When it thins, slow, the gorge breathing it back out, the narrows below is gone. No cut, no road, no column. A new slope of broken house lies where the pass was, and it is already bearing, already finding its seat, locking course on course. I look for the far lip. The rubble of the brow is bare. He was standing on it. He read my hand half a breath too late, and the stone he gave his life to serve came down between us with his master's army folded inside it. I take my thumb off the cord. My hands are shaking, and they've earned it. Lord, Tam says, very quiet. Is it? It's sealed. Level, which costs me more than the pull did. Below, a single block shifts and settles with a knock like a closing door, and then the throat is only stone. Holding the weight I handed it, holding the duke under it. There's nothing left to drop. The wind turns down the gorge, cold off the high snow, and it carries the first carrion bird in, a raven, dropping onto the raw slope where the road used to run, walking the broken courses as though it already smells what I laid under them. Tam lifts his head from the rock. His face is gray with dust, streaked where his eyes have run. It held, he says. It'll hold 1,000 years. I say it flat because it's true, and because true is the only thing I have left to hand him. Behind us, the mountain breathes them out. They come up through the back gallery one at a time, out of the cut I threaded them through before dawn, blinking into the gray light over a pass that is no longer a pass. The old ones first, on the biers, then the rest on their feet, hands to the braced stone I taught them not to fear. I count without meaning to. My hands do it on their own. They count everything. Heads against a number I've carried 12 days. 47. All of them up and breathing. None left under the slope but the boy I couldn't pull, and he's sealed deep where Corwin will never reach him, and that is its own hard kind of keeping. Mira comes last but for Brannock. The Harlan baby is quiet against her shoulder now, one fist curled in her collar, asleep through the loss of the only home it will ever have been told it had. She stops at the lip beside me and looks down at what I made. That was the hall, she says, not a question. Her voice doesn't break. She spent that already, somewhere in the dark, where I didn't have to hear it. The hearthstone, grandfather's seat, yes. The well, the muniment room. She names them the way I'd read a footing, one by one, accounting the load. Everything we are is under there. Everything we were. The words are out before I weigh them. I don't take them back. She turns. So does Tam. So, slowly, do the rest strung along the brow. The smith, the two widowed Harlan women, the children gripping skirts. Every face coming round to me the way you look at a beam you're no longer sure of. I read the gorge one last time because I can't stop my eyes doing it. The slope bears. The narrows are gone. There's no wall here to mind now, no keystone to watch, no roof sag, no choke point, no door to hold against a key. 40 years I built my whole craft around stone that needed a man standing at its weakest point. I have just spent the last stone I own. What's left won't hold itself. A child coughs somewhere in the settling dust. One of the old men on a bier asks, thin, where we're to sleep, and no one answers him. I look at them instead of the slope. 47 faces on a bare ridge with nothing at their backs. The only thing in this whole pass I can still lose. We don't stay here, I tell Tam. Gather them. We move before the light goes. Nobody steps yet. The raven lifts off the new stone, beats once down the dead gorge, and the rock below gives back no echo at all. He's not under it. The words come up the back gallery ahead of the man. Wren, youngest of the two I sent down before dawn to mind the south road, hauling himself over the lip on his hands, breath coming in rags. I'm already moving. Slow down. What isn't under it? The Duke. He gets a knee beneath him and throws an arm back down the dead gorge, south, the way no one should still be pointing. His standard never turned into the pass. I crouch to his eyes. Dust has crusted in the corners of them. I watched the column go in, the marten, the lifted arm. You watched a column. His chest drags at the thin air, can't fill. Foot soldiers, baggage carts, one marten banner up at the front, not his banner. The white field and the double chain, the big one, held back at the mouth and pulled away south. He sat his horse on the open road and watched his own van walk into your stone. He never set a boot in the throat. The cold comes up through my soles, the slow way water finds a hairline and waits for the freeze. I make myself read it the way I'd read a wall that just shed a course nobody pushed. He fed a vanguard in. Borrowed colors, throwaway men, a baggage train fat enough to read like a duke's whole purse from a ridge in bad light. And then he stood clear in the daylight and let me bring the mountain down on them. Lord! Tam at my elbow, not there yet. We sealed it. We won the pass. There was nothing in the pass to win. My own voice, level, and it surprises me. He was never trying to come through. Mira holds the baby still against her collar and steps in close so the others strung along the brow won't catch it. Then what was the column for? For me. I look at her and lay it out plain, like load handed onto a beam, because she's the one who has to carry it now. A duke can't march on a free clan over a road toll. No haul between here and the coast would lend him a sack of oats for that. But murderers... I stop and set the word down exactly. We just put 400 of his men under good stone while they walked through in peace. That's the story he rode away to tell. He has his war. We handed it to him this morning with both hands. The faces along the ridge don't follow the words. They read mine instead, the way you watch a brace you've stopped trusting, and the small certainty I gave them an hour ago goes out of them one by one. Wren, still on his knees, swallows. He's not even moving fast, Lord. The standard's just sitting, south of the mouth. I turn and look where he points. Far down the dead gorge, past the raw slope, out on the flat of the open road, a pale square of cloth hangs in air with no wind to lift it. White field, double chain. It isn't advancing. It doesn't have to. He's letting me see it, letting me stand on my own sealed work and count what it cost. And the longer I hold my eyes on it, the cleaner the failure reads. I shut the one door he was never going to walk through, and I propped his front gate open with the dead. I'm still holding my eyes on the standard when the scree moves where it has no cause to. A hand, fingers first, then a gray wrist, working up out of the broken stone like a root pushing the wrong way toward light. I'm over the lip before Tam finishes saying my name. Hold them, I throw back. Up here. All of them. The new slope slides under every boot, and I ride 40 feet of loose mountain down to the place the hand is clawing at the air. A man. Buried to the chest, one shoulder free, a slab the size of a hall door laid across his thighs, not crushing them, bridged. 2 boulders have caught the weight a hand's breadth above his legs. No man lands in that pocket by falling. He's gray to the eyes with rock dust, blood gone black in the creases of his face, and when he clears his throat, he doesn't scream. He looks up the fall instead. He reads it, course by course, the way mine did from the brow. And the cold that's lived in my soles all morning climbs another inch. Clean work, he spits grit. You drop the haunch, not the crown. Crown throws half of it down the south face and leaves the throat open. You knew that. Who taught you to talk like a sapper? Same school as your fall came out of. A cough that costs him. Corwin Vale. I built the column you put under your stone this morning. I crouch where he can see my hands. One of them has already found a rock the right size without being told to. You chose the men in it. I chose the ones the Duke could spare. No heat, a man reading me a figure off a tally. Old colors, bad knees, a Martin banner he was done with, 40 carts of sand dressed up as a Duke's silver. I knew you'd read a purse like that from up there in bad light, and I knew you'd bring the hill down to bury it. His mouth twists. You're very good. You did exactly what I built you to do. There it is. Plain on the broken slope, my own craft turned around and aimed back up the mountain at me. A mirror that took my dawn and bent it and never once cracked. I look at the rock in my hand. I look at the 2 boulders holding the slab off his legs. One pull on the lower one, and that bridge stops bridging. He watches me see it. He doesn't flinch. Go on, one more under the stone. He adds me to the count and calls you butcher twice. A wet laugh. Or you waste a quarter hour and a good back digging me loose to hang, and your strays freeze on the brow while you do it. I run the sum, because it's a true one, and he knows it's true, which is why he handed it to me. A corpse here bears nothing. A man dug out to kill costs me a back and a quarter hour, and hands the Duke his second body. Either way, I spend something for the pleasure of it, and buy my 47, not 1 yard of ground. I open my hand. The rock drops and rolls. Crawl out yourself, I tell him. I haven't a back to spare on you. I'm already turning for the slope, for the bare ridge and the people on it with nothing at their backs, when his voice comes after me, steadier now, a man filing a measurement he means to spend. I'll know your hand next time, Garen of the Free Clans. Stone grinds as he works the trapped shoulder. I'll be on the other side of every wall you build, and I'll read it down. I stop on the loose scree, half turned, and look back at him, the way you look at a crack you've chosen to let run, for now, on your own terms. Learn it well, I say. I already have yours. The fire's green wood, and it won't hold past midnight. I read that before I read anything else. The way the flame gutters down into the wet heart of the pine and throws more smoke than heat. The snow has stopped. The brow is a white shelf under a black sky, and the people I brought up off the mountain are ranged close around the one flame we dared light, knees to knees, breath standing white in the cold. Tam feeds it a splint of broken fence rail and watches it catch. 2 hours, he says, maybe. Less, it's wet at the core. I crouch and draw the green stick back out before it smothers the coals. Dry first. The wet goes in once there's a bed of heat to take it. Across the flame, an old woman snorts. Edda, the one with the wool wrapped to her eyes, who walked the whole climb on a stick and never once asked to stop. He builds the fire like he built the trap, she says, to no one and to everyone. Backwards from how a sane man would, and right. A few of them laugh. It's a thin sound up here, but it's warm, and it doesn't shake. I keep my eyes on the coals, because that's easier than the faces. They saw me go over the lip this morning into 40 feet of loose mountain and come back up empty-handed. They don't know what waited at the bottom. They don't need to. What they know is that the man who took them down the throat in the dark went down after something alone and climbed back to them. You went for the body, Etta says, not a question. I went to look at my own work. That's true enough. And to count what it cost. And then you came back up. She prods the snow with her stick. Strangers don't, mostly. They get you to the high ground and then they're gone over the far side with the better boots. I have no answer that isn't a lie or a wound, so I give her the fire instead. Feed it slow. There's no more rail after this. Mira sits at my left, close, the way she stood close on the ridge so the rest wouldn't hear. Except there's nothing to hide now, and she's only close for the heat. The baby's fretting against her collar, working up to a real cry, fists going. She shifts him, tired to the bone, both arms full. Take him a moment, she says. I need my hands. She doesn't ask. She lays him into the crook of my arm the way you'd hand a tool to someone you've worked beside for years, and goes to unknot the frozen lace of her boot. My hands take the weight without being told. They know it. They've done this before, for a smaller bundle, in a smaller cold. A granddaughter I held this size, and did not get to hold grown. The grief I've carried up every slope since sits down in my chest, and for once, doesn't claw. The child quiets against my coat. His breath finds my breath, and slows to it. I look up, and the whole ring of them is looking back. Not the way they looked on the ridge at dawn, measuring whether to trust the stranger giving orders. Something has settled. Etta says it first, plain, the way she says everything. Ours, then. She nods once, like a sum that's finally come out even. You'll do. A man with a bad knee, Boren, who I had carried the last quarter mile between two shoulders, lifts his chin. Ours, he agrees. No banner in it, no bent knee. A word from people who followed a stranger down a mountain in the black and are alive to name him in the morning. I should give them something procedural. The watch order, the route off the brow at first light. The truth that the white standard is still down there and that what saved them today only delays the man who said it. I do none of it. Yet. The child's heart ticks against my forearm, fast and certain, and I let myself feel the heat of 47 bodies drawn in around one poor fire, kept, every one, and I hold the warmth a while before I set it down. The cold does the arithmetic before I'm awake enough to fight it. The fire's a gray scar in the snow, and all the heat I banked into the sleeping ring overnight has gone up into the black and left us where we started. First light comes thin and blue over the eastern teeth. Mira stirs against my shoulder, surfaces, reaches for the child without a word. I give him back the way I set a keystone. Both hands, no jolt. Her fingers have thawed enough to take his weight now. Tam's already up, stamping blood into his feet, breath ragged and white. We go down at full light, he says. It isn't a question, it's a man wanting it not to be one. There's the old holding at Fern's Cross. Walls still stand, half a roof. We could winter it. I look south off the brow, to where the white standard hung windless yesterday and hangs there still. Too far to see, close enough to matter. Then I look at the walls in Tam's head and read them the way I read any wall, for the line along which they come apart. Fern's Cross is a grave with a roof, I say. Stone sits where the maps say it sits. He has the maps. He has engines and time and 400 murdered men's worth of reason to use both. Put us behind a wall he can find, and he digs us out at his leisure. The same way he buried my column, only slower, with us watching. Boren shifts his bad leg and grimaces. Then where? A man's got to stand somewhere. I crouch and draw it in the frost with one finger. The brow, the throat at our backs, the long fold of land climbing north and west into country no cart road has ever scratched. Up, here. I tap a blank space between two ridge lines. There's a hanging valley above the third cataract, one way in, and that way's a stair a goat thinks twice on. No Lord Surveyor ever charged a fee for it because no Lord Surveyor could reach it. We don't rebuild a keep, we grow people who never need one. Etta leans on her stick and squints at the smear of frost lines like it's a deed of title held up to bad light. Years, that, she says. Years, I agree. We come back down when we're a thing he can't dig out. Not a wall with a seam in it, a clan with none. Nobody cheers. Cheering wastes breath you'll want for the climb. But Tam crouches beside my scratched map and sets his thumb where the stair would go, learning the line of it, and Boren nods slow, the way a man takes on a debt he fully means to pay. The debt's mine first, though, and I feel the weight of it settle along the same arm that held the child all night. 400 dead under safe passage. A martin banner cut to bait me. A sapper crawling out of my own rockfall to promise the next wall, and the wall after that. I carry every pound of it north with the bread and the wounded, and I don't set it down. I stand and shoulder the empty pack. The blue light has gone gold along the rim, and the snow on the high fold throws it back hard and clean. The road we haven't walked yet, lying open and bright as a fresh-cut beam waiting to take its load. On your feet, I tell them. We've a long way up to climb before we come down on Aldermont's gate.